suspension of the XK8 and the XKR is made up of an upper wishbone, lower wishbone, hub carrier, strut and anti-roll bar. This is all bolted to an aluminium crossmember, which in turn is bolted to the chassis and cradles the engine. The order that you remove these components does not really matter, except that some components need to be removed or partially disassembled to allow others to be removed. I firstly removed the upper wishbone, followed by the strut, anti-roll bar and lastly the lower wishbones. Future videos will show the removal of the crossmember and the replacement of all the front end bushes, mountings and bearings. So I'm going to get the hub off of this and also take the upper and lower wishbones off. In order to do that, there's a few things. You need to disconnect the steering rack, the tie rod end there. You've got the upper ball joint, and also down there you've got the lower ball joint, and you've got the anti-roll bar just there. I will also be getting the strut out as well. So I'm going to give this a little spray up. I've gave it a spray up a few days ago, but I'll just give it another go here now. Something else you need to consider on a car with HID headlights. This unit here measures the angle of the front suspension in order to do the auto leveling. So this will need to be taken off just down here. So it's a good clean up. Let's give that a spray first as well. The bolt that goes through here, put a 24mm socket on one end and a 24mm spanner on the other. Now I can just about get this in there, I think. The other side wasn't too bad to undo, but so you undo from this end because there's more space, and that end you just put the spanner on. Now what you do need to watch on this is there are different spacers and washers everywhere, and you need to make sure you put them back in the same order. So I'm going to be very careful when I take this off, but hopefully when I take this off I can then move the ball joint, lean this forward, giving access to the bolt underneath. The other thing that you notice as well, as you pull this bolt out, this washer comes out with the bolt, and it'll only come out a certain way and it fails on a bracket that's just behind. So you've got to bring it out in stages. So that's the order of the washers that I've got on mine. Well, literally as soon as I turned the camera off, I gave it 3 whacks and it just came out in exactly the same way I showed. So now the top wishbone will just come out. Next thing to remove is the anti-roll bar link, which is 2 bolts, 1 top, 1 bottom. In fact, just before I do that, I'm going to take the speed sensor off. It might just be easier if I unplug it. So the anti-roll bar linkage, we've got a 15mm nut on that side, and I think it's a 13mm bolt head on the other. So you just need to hold one still while you undo the other. And the upper linkage, I think it is a 19mm socket with a 15mm spanner behind, just to stop that spinning. Feel where that's a little bit corroded at the end of the bolt. Okay, we get the track running off now. Hopefully, if I'm lucky, it won't spin. I thought about using the impact driver on this, but I think the impact driver will just shake it loose and make it more difficult to get out. I really mustn't forget this here, because I don't want to break this. I don't think these are very easy to get hold of, and I certainly doubt they'd be cheap. I think I'll do, actually, I'll get the strut out of the way first, so I'll unbolt that down here, and then I can take it out from the top. So it looks like this has got copper grease on it, which is going to help disassembly. And I looked on the history of this car, this is one of the bushes that has definitely been done previously. I think the other side was done at some point too. So this is where I'm going to take the weight of this. As soon as I take the weight, I can get that bolt out. You notice I put copper grease all the way on there, that's good. So that's free. Right, so view the top of the strut. I've got 3 covers to come off the nuts, and then the last remaining cover that comes off the top of the strut. So we need to remove the power cable from the cat suspension, and then undo these 3 nuts. Right, so I'll put a smaller diameter bolt through there so it's easy to get out. And these are 13mm nuts. So with the weight taken from underneath, you can just undo these and it won't drop anywhere. I should just be able to remove this now and pull the strut out. What I didn't realise on this side is underneath there is actually another nut. There you go, that's dropping now. So just put that back through there so it won't drop out completely. Okay, put 10mm spanner on the back. easily. So this forward mount, there is a 21mm socket. If you can see it on the back edge just there. But there's also a nut up in there, which I'm using a 19mm spanner on to stop it moving. So that pushes out now. Now you can only go a certain way, and then it's against a clip here. So we need to take that clip off in order to get it out of the way and get this past. In there is a T30 Torx bit. It's not going to undo. Now I've got this bracket here removed and loose. It means you've now got space to remove the bolt that goes through here. So the last one to come out is a bolt that goes through here. So I'll undo that. But what you have to do is you wind the steering column one way or the other, which then allows this bolt to slide out. Okay, let's see if that bolt will just push straight out. It does. As you can see, it fails on the steering column, so I just need to move that to the right, and then it should clear. So in order to get the bottom ball joint off, I undid the nut, and unfortunately the camera wasn't recording, but I basically hit on the end here. About 10 hits and it came off.